Yo, imagine, yeah, I was recording the new video and my audio was off. I had to stop that recording and make a new recording. Anyway, we're here though. I want to talk to you guys about the Tory Lane situation. You might be able to see it in the background here. Yo, it is treacherous out here. If you guys didn't know, which if you don't know, it must be not chronicling online like me. But Tory Lanez got stabbed up severely a couple of days ago. Like I heard he had two collapsed lungs. Like how the heck do you live with two collapsed lungs? Anyway, he got stabbed in the head twice. Like he got stabbed bare times. Praise up to him. I hope that he can make a not only a quick recovery but like a thorough recovery, a good recovery. Praise up to him. And the new evidence has come up on about the situation that happened between Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion 2 years ago. Uh, I don't know if this evidence is conclusive, but they are saying that Tory Lanez was not the one to shoot the weapon. Instead, it was someone else. I think it must have been the accomplice that was there with Megan and Tory. Pretty sure it was Megan's friend. But yeah, if this is true, which I don't think it is conclusive, like I said, it's looking long for Megan. It's looking long for her. But regardless, I don't. If we go back before we even got this evidence, I don't think what happened between Tory Lanez, Megan Thee Stallion, and Megan's friend is like was enough to give Tory Lanez 10 years in prison. I don't like. I'm pretty sure first of all the evidence wasn't even conclusive. So off of that alone, there's no way Tory Lanez goes to prison for 10 years. Max I heard that he could go for was 1 or 2 years. Unless he was a really high risk criminal, then obviously they would give him more years. But to be fair though, realistically speaking, Tory Lanez kind of did this to himself as well, because obviously he didn't want to, you know, snitch for lack of a better term. He wanted to keep their street codes. That's with them. I'm not from ends. Well, I am from ends, but I'm not on road, so that whole snitching thing doesn't apply to me. I have a whole different set of rules for that. But we're not here to talk about that. I do have a video for us to watch from Anton Davis. Shout out to him. This is serious stuff, man. Let's just get straight into the video.
Good morning. We are here today to bring to your attention some information Unite the People believes is exculpatory for Mr. Good morning. We are here today to bring to your attention some information Unite the People believes is exculpatory for Mr. Daystar Peterson's case, professionally known as Tory Lanez. Recently, we've been made aware that a member of the media, Mr. Gianno Caldwell, was working on an op-ed for the New York Post regarding Mr. Peterson's innocence. During his work on that op-ed, he became aware of some information in Unite the People's possession regarding a statement that was given to Unite the People by someone with information relevant to that case.
He is looking rough. Damn. He is looking rough.
The New York Post recently reached out to the prior district attorney, George Gascon, Megan Pete and her representatives, and Kelsey Harris and her representatives. The only party that responded last week was Megan Pete's representatives with a request for more information. A few days later, Mr. Peterson's brutally attacked in his jail cell. Unite the People represents Daystar Peterson in his appellate process. We filed an appellate.
I'm sorry. This is the third time they've put this picture up. I don't know what they're trying to do here, but this is crazy. I understand this is mugshot, but damn, do we really have to do him like this? We understand. We've seen the picture once, twice. Third time is not the charm here, please.
Brief and a writ of habeas corpus on his behalf.
We not gonna skip over that, bro. We not just gonna skip over the whole idea that when they reached out to let them know that they had new evidence or they had the truth behind what was going on, and I'm sure that he's going to reveal what the truth is. I literally just stepped off the plane and seen this while I was on the plane. I couldn't wait to get to my hotel room so that I can have this conversation. That literally, right after that, he got attacked by a dude that is serving life in prison on a prison yard right after, the day after they reached out to Meg and Pete, who was Meg the Stallion's team. All of a sudden, for whatever reason, Tory Lanez ends up in a hospital when they tried to take his life.
Now, I can see where he's coming from, but to say, well, there might be a correlation, there might be a causation, or this might have been a coincidence. Which, I understand it sounds a bit crazy because technically, new evidence was presented and all of a sudden he got stabbed. I hear that. I understand that. And to be fair, if I'm honest, I'm leaning more towards that. But, you know, if we're looking at the other side as well, to say that new evidence came out, and from what I know, Megan Thee Stallion is, I don't know, man. Is she on road like that? Is she gangster like that? Does she have links to the point where she would know people that are behind bars for life that are willing to do a hit on Tory Lanez? That's my thinking. It sounds a bit wayward to me, but then again, I see the other side of it. Like, new evidence came out, now they're trying to silence him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I kind of understand both views, but like I said, I'm trying my best to stay neutral here because it's not fully conclusive.
We stood on business since day one. And all of these women said that Tory Lanez was guilty and that he needed to go to jail and believe all women. And I shot credibility in that from day one when she appeared on Gail King's show and she said that they never slept together. And in the documentary, she then revealed that they did sleep together, which obviously we seen all of the details of the case and nobody could prove that he actually shot her, but everybody was keeping quiet because they wanted to protect themselves and they didn't want to go to jail themselves and be charged with the whole situation. But
Before he finishes whatever he has to say, I want to say as well. Listen, that whole always believe in women bullcrap. I wasn't with that either. The way the situation was sounding like a year or two ago, it was too inconclusive. Like, for me, there wasn't enough evidence being presented, and I already stated the fact that I don't know why Tory Lanez got given 10 years. So yeah, for me, it's like, I didn't just believe Meg Thee Stallion, and I didn't just side with Tory Lanez. For me, I was waiting for more information, and now we're getting that information.
she is the one that said that he shot her. Now you see hits coming out in prison and they trying to take this man's life. And from day one, I said, I don't believe it. I think that she's lying. This woman need to be prosecuted and sent to prison. And everybody involved with it that tried to, man, I think that this stinks up to the highest of highs, and I can't wait to talk about it on After Hours. This is crazy. This is insane. Let me get the rest of this, and then we're going to come back and we're going to react to it.
The district attorney's office has already responded. The case is fully briefed. We're just waiting for the appellate court's decision. We were willing to wait for the appellate process to play out. But given that brutal, unprovoked attack, we felt it necessary to come here today to provide you with this information. It is our intention to make a request to the governor to either pardon or commute the sentence of Mr. Peterson so that when he recovers from this attack, he's not returned to a jail cell, but that he's allowed to go home and recover.
And seek restitution.
Not long ago, Unite the People was approached by a gentleman named Bradley James. Mr. James informed us he was working as the bodyguard and driver for Miss Kelsey Harris during Mr. Peterson's trial. As such, he was in close proximity and he had privy to conversations she was having with her husband and others. Mr. Peterson, I'm sorry, Mr. James informed us he was not under a non-disclosure agreement or a confidentiality agreement and was free to speak with Unite the People, and that he was doing it because his conscience would not let him not speak and leave a man in prison for something he did not do.
10 years, y'all.
Mr. James
10 years.
informed Unite the People that he was a witness to the conversation Miss Harris had, where she stated she had the gun, she fired it 3 times, Mr. Peterson grabbed her arm and knocked it down, and the gun fired 2 more times.
Crazy. Crazy. This whole time, Mr. James, I don't know what his role in this was, if he was, you know, with them as a bodyguard, or if he was a friend of them. I don't know. I didn't hear it properly, I can't lie. But, you know, the fact that it took him pretty much 2 years, you know, to come out with this information is crazy. It's crazy. Because this whole, the way he's talking, Tory Lanez was even trying to defuse the situation. You know, he was, you know, 3 shots went off. Tory Lanez tried to stop whoever was shooting the gun, which I'm pretty sure was the person who was with Megan Thee Stallion. Gun fell, 2 more shots went off, and those 2 shots on the ground. That's probably how the bullet, you know, entered Megan Thee Stallion's foot. Again, here I'm just, you know, I'm just stating stuff. I'm not really saying conclusive stuff either. I mean, I'm just guessing. But this is insane. It took Tory Lanez nearly getting stabbed to death for this information to come out. God, flipping heck.
In essence, Mr. Peterson never shot anybody, never even touched that gun, never fired the gun. This statement aligns with the statement of the only non-party witness to the case, Mr. Sean Kelly, who at trial testified he saw 2 women fighting, 2 men break up the fight, 1 man grabbed the other one's arm. Gunshots came from the passenger side. The passenger side is where Miss Harris was sitting.
Okay, now I see where Mr. James' words could be more conclusive here. So there was another witness who was not with them, probably someone on the outside that saw the situation, and his words match up with the new evidence that came out. 5 shots went out. Tory Lanez tried to hold the weapon. Well, he didn't state that Tory Lanez tried to hold the weapon, but he said a man tried to hold the weapon, and yeah. Oof. If this is true, which I don't know, man, it's looking to be true. It's looking long for Megan, or Megan, sorry. It's looking long for her. Her professional career, ooh. I don't know, man.
This further iterates that Mr. Peterson did not shoot Miss Pete, did not shoot at Miss Pete, or did not assault Miss Pete. It's just another irregularity in a list of irregularities in this case.
Never should have been in prison.
For example, there were 3 potential suspects in the car that night, and yet the only DNA sample was taken of Mr. Peterson, even though unknown DNA was found on the gun. Why wasn't Miss Harris's DNA taken? Or was it taken and the information simply never given to the defense? Why wasn't the driver of the car, Mr. Jaquan Smith's DNA taken? Or was it taken and again, simply not given to the defense?
See, this is what I was talking about. When the situation happened before, we didn't have conclusive evidence that Tory Lanez shot the weapon, and we didn't even know whose DNA was on the weapon, because apparently there was DNA on the weapon, but we didn't know. And they gave Tory Lanez 10 years for this. 10 years for something that they didn't even know if he did or not. Which is crazy. That's my problem. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of what happened, they didn't like go out there and get evidence that proved Tory Lanez did this, so he deserves to be in prison. Let alone he deserves to be in prison for 10 years. This is crazy.
We don't know. It should have been taken. It is Unite the People's Understanding, regular LAPD practice at a crime scene like that. Anybody who's there, the DNA is taken.
And this is why Tory Lanez took it to trial, because he said, listen, I am going to defend myself and I'm not going to plead guilty and take a plea deal for something that I didn't do, which is another reason why men are under attack on a regular basis.
Another irregularity. Why?
Before he continues, if I'm correct, Tory Lanez has not testified. Which, in my opinion, he should testify because it's like, you know, you didn't do this. I understand you don't want to switch. You know, it's the code of the streets. You know, rare, tear, tear. But at the same time, if you know you didn't do this at all, and this isn't no street thing either. I could care less. This isn't no street thing either. Um, it seems like you don't have any loyalties to them, to whoever was in that situation. Yo, me personally, I'm telling you whatever I can tell you. Because I'm not doing no 10 years for something I was not, that I didn't do, as he stated. This is, yeah, man.
At Miss Harris's police interview was a non-lawyer, non-family member record company executive allowed to participate.
That's crazy.
Highly irregular situation. Normally, we see cases, strangers are not allowed in these things, but it was in this case. All of these things point to the highly irregular nature of his trial and his conviction.
Facts.
It is our contention.
Let me just repeat this part again, just to make sure I understand what he just said.
Another reason why men are under attack on a regular basis.
Another irregularity. Why, at Miss Harris's police interview, was a non-lawyer, non-family member record company executive allowed to participate?
That's
okay. That is why that conspiracy theory is out there. That someone, I don't know what record label Megan Thee Stallion's in, but someone from that record label, got a hit on Tory Lanez. That's why that theory is out there. I don't know, man. I can't say I don't fully believe in it, but I can't say I fully believe in it either. It's a possibility. It definitely is. I've heard crazier. I've heard crazier. You know, so it's definitely a possibility. But like I said, there's obviously there'll never be evidence for that. I don't think we're ever gonna find out who put out a hit on Tory Lanez unless, I don't know, Megan Thee Stallion gets prosecuted and then she decides to snitch.
crazy.
Highly irregular situation. Normally, we see cases, strangers are not allowed in these things, but it was in this case. All of these things point to the highly irregular nature of his trial and his conviction.
Facts.
It is our contention that he was wrongly convicted.
I agree.
And while we at first were willing to let the process play out, it is our contention now that if he is not pardoned or released promptly, he may never come out. And that would be the ultimate injustice, is that he gets killed in prison for something he did not do. At this time, I'd like to bring up Mr. Gianno Caldwell, the media member who was working on that op-ed for the New York Post. Thank you.
We're going to cover the rest of this on the Millionaire Morning Show. It's going to be the top story that we cover. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications.
We're gonna stop it right there as well. Yeah. I mean, you heard, what this gentleman here had to say. This is, I'm gonna say it again, this is crazy because it is. I don't know how else to describe it. You know what I'm saying? I've already been said Tory Lanez 10 years. It's insane for what happened. No evidence, no nothing. Just giving him 10 years. It already seemed like something there wasn't right, and now new evidence comes out, and it seems like this evidence from Mr. James here, uh, who is involved with Tory Lanez and who was involved in that situation. He was there. He was, a first-hand witness. What he said, his word, sounds very similar to a witness who was like what I'm saying. He wasn't involved. He wasn't directly involved. He was indirectly involved. You know what I'm saying? But he's seen what happened, and both of their statements sound very similar. They really need to get out this new DNA. This new DNA though, because the DNA on the gun is still unknown to this day. Don't know why. Like the guy said, there's no DNA from Megan's friend. There's no DNA from the driver. The only person who got their DNA done was Tory Lanez. The more and more I think about it, I'm really starting to understand why people think, this was done to sabotage Tory Lanez. This was done to sabotage him. I don't, yeah, man. But yeah, man. That's pretty much it. If you got any thoughts on this, leave the comments down below. You know, I'll catch you in the next one. I don't know what else to say, man.